Hello, hello, everyone. Come on in. Welcome, welcome. So thank you, everybody. Happy seasonal shift. We are moving into the Leo gate, and there's all kinds of energy in this portal, y'all. If you missed it, the July forecast is still worth reviewing because all the big boys are engaged. Our social collective planets are engaged, but I love it because they're trines and sextiles. So it's ease and grace and opportunities for big shifts to happen that, in my opinion, can help carry our little personal stuff along and help us do some heavy lifting that saves us a little bit of energy in that regard. This is one of my favorite seasons, the opposite being the Aquarius gate of power in February. So thinking back 6 months ago, what was sparking? What was just coming to life? What were you just thinking about creating and seeding and bringing to the next level and hoping to activate in the spring? Here we are 6 months out, and there should be some form of what you've done with your energy this year, creatively or otherwise, right? Just however you've been channeling. I've been on the health and dental tip and working a lot of that. So been a huge focus of shifting the rhythms and routines. I did want to say how even with these gatherings, as much as yes, I'm still going to do the energetic support. We still got our readings and divinations, but I think I'm going to try to dream up something new for the new year that I'll kick off with winter solstice for 2027. But I am shifting from being the forecast girl to hopefully being the person that drops in to help with the energies and cycles during retreats, or forming and shaping and designing my own retreats around certain things that are really important to take time to actually process and absorb and figure out your tools for navigating. I've talked to a lot of you one-on-one in different circumstances, different ways, how there's so many things in the world that help us walk through the dark night of the soul or get through those hard times. And I'm still here for that. And I can support you in that way if that's what you need. But I also want to be here for that rebirthing period, for that rebuild, for the phoenix from the ashes, for your next stage of your journey kind of thing. And that's why it's deep when I pulled back from, being so focused on the forecast to one-on-one, and more mentorship clients showed up. So more people who want to do the work that are deeply committed versus social media or whatever vacuum I pour stuff out into. I don't know where it goes or where it ends up and things like that. So you've heard me in the last month or two say, by the end of this year, I'm hoping to have everything really organized in the container, and we'll have a private container where we can do our spiritual work and our growth and our rituals and ceremonies in private. It's not for public consumption. The things that I do and the way that we do it, this isn't for everybody. So the private container is going to become where we gather in the future. But right now, I'm closing out a 30-year, let's say, body of work, right? Being known as. So when we get to the Leo time, it's always about our presentation and what we're presenting to the world, the light that you shine, being comfortable in your own skin. That's the part of the evolution going on for everyone on some level. So hopefully you're tapping into that. I always look at this season as the preserving season, where we look at what's actually gotten some life to it, some vitality, some juice, things that work. Like I've tried a whole bunch of things with my health and dental and workouts and routines. It ain't all working. So I keep trying stuff and tweaking it until I get it right. And so a lot of times we figure out how we want to present things when Leo's kicking, and Virgo helps us sort of perfect it and ground it and give it a base to stand on, so that we can go forward and interact with others in better ways, theoretically, right? So it's important for you also to look at this season as a time of releasing any regrets. What's done is done. We're almost 9 months through the year as it is, right? So we want to give gratitude for whatever has worked, but we also want to stop investing energy in anything that hasn't taken by now, that you do want to see manifest in some kind of way, right? So being clear about making offerings to ensure the flow is a big part of that gratitude process. So we're thinking about what we already have and how we would like to improve that. And we've always talked about our prayer work, ending our prayers with this or something greater, this or something better for your higher self, for your spirit and source of your understanding, to sort of guide that. Because a lot of times, even with our best imagination, spirit has something better. So we always want to stay open to that. And this would be the time that, even for the things that didn't work out for this year, to be grateful because it wasn't time, or you need to add this piece or take this piece out, or whatever it is that spirit's trying to guide you on. We want to learn to follow that, because the the world is crazy and chaotic, and they're going to try to get your attention and get you distracted to where you can't sense and pick up on what your cues are and what you need to be doing, right? So we're releasing those regrets and facilitating closure on anything. Like we said, done is done. This is a lot of times I call it the pre-harvest, because we're in assessment mode. We're about to hit that 9-month baby. What are we birthing for the year? What was the big thing that happened for you for 2026? That's going to be part of your harvest, right? So this is when we start getting a jump on that and looking at what the harvest might shape up to be. And like I said, it could be personal where you're working on you. It could be professional where you're working on your career, or it could be your community development and things where you're reaching out. Like again, with this Leo time, we want to shine our light and share our essence with other folks in circle like this to really anchor what we're bringing in and have witnesses to witness and testify that you have done the work for the year. And I am definitely that for you all, to know that you have walked each season, right? And been honoring what time it is. And so this is the time where we can be activating more creativity. So it might be something like a project that didn't click right away is starting to show promise. We want to invest some more creativity in that. Or starting completely fresh, like I'm doing. I'm about to scratch and start all over, y'all. But we want to deepen our dedication to what is working. And like I said, withdraw any resources from things that are not. And just assess what is worth cultivating and preserving, what is serving you, what is supporting you, what is helping you shine your light in this new way. We've had so many other things going on in the world that are, I'm sorry, not in the world, but in our cycles and patterns that are pushing us to rebirth this new identity and purpose. Now there are some new things coming into the foreground to support that new identity and purpose you just spent the last year or two defining and breaking ground on and initiating this new direction in life with the Venus and Aries cycle is wrapping up, but we're about to go into the Venus and Scorpio cycle. So that means with this new identity and purpose that we've cultivated over the last couple of years, it now has access to very new power and creativity. So all of this energy is, everything's a response to the last thing, preparation for the next thing, right? So we're looking at what we've come through in all the Cancer energy of personal security and nurturing and taking care of ourselves. What's the self-care look like? How much do you do for yourself? How much do you do for the family and community and things like that? Getting that calibration, to me, Cancer is always very internal. And then Leo, we go out and share it, whatever energy we have that we've now replenished, we've restored our energy in Cancer so we can go shine our light in Leo. And then, like I said, ground whatever's, because Leo's fun, creativity. Let's look at what the possibilities are. Let's not totally try to define it. Let's just look at what popped this year, the seeds that actually popped. Think about your flowers in that way. The chart that supports us would be, technically, we're getting together on the 9th, but our date of the Leo gate officially was August 7th on the East Coast, 7:43 a.m. So we have Virgo ruling the chart. We've got a bunch of little parties. This is what I say, what are called stelliums, when 3 or more planets are in the same sign together. So there's all kinds of little pockets of energy, which means certain lessons that are up right now. We've got a lot of fire, all that Aries and Leo. So if you have any Sag like I do, we're adding to the fire you already have, and we want to ground whatever extra we got, right? So that we don't blow our circuits. So for the chart, all the Leo juju is actually in the 12th house, which tells me we are dreaming a new dream completely based on this new connection to your heart, this understanding that joy is valuable, and as human beings, we need a place to play and have joy and excitement and passion and vitality. That is all part of that Leo goodness that is annual, when we might infuse ourselves with some new energy or express ourselves in some kind of new way or get creative in some kind of new way. But Jupiter's there for once in 12 years, which is actually asking us to tell the new story. So if you were with me for the Jupiter in Cancer, I talked about how the last year we've had the ancestors very close all day, all night, talking to us in different ways and helping us recognize our piece of the ancestral story. So if you figured that out recently in the last year, 1 to 12 years, right? As you figure out your own piece of your lineage, piece of your ancestral story, now what is that piece that you want to shine forward and share with the world and sort of take your lineage to the next level, because that's what we are all doing. And so this energy of this portal, let's say, because we do call these gates of power portals, I will remind you here too how winter, spring, summer, fall is kind of out there pushing lots of action and choices and movements. And it's very, let's say, solar oriented, right? With the gates of power, we're pulling inward, pausing at the midpoint between the seasons, and it's much more lunar and personal and internal. So this is a good time to just pause at the halfway point between summer solstice and fall equinox and just see where you're at with your time in this quarter, in this month and in this year, and just check in. That's what we do every 6 weeks with these gatherings as well. So all that Leo goodness is, how can we shine our light in a new way, take our ancestral story to the next level, and really activate the piece that your soul brought to it, right? Because you have a unique soul and essence that brought something to that. Mercury technically is still in Cancer, which is where it retrograded, but it's on its way. It's going to hit Leo. I got the dates here somewhere. August 9th, right now, today. Yay. Okay, so Mercury just hit Leo today. But for the chart, we were still finishing our process. That is part of this portal, is how do you process and digest your life in general, your creative babies and ideas, how you interact with your family and loved ones. We take a pause. Any planet in Cancer asks us to pause and think about how we nurture and nourish and feed ourselves, and what are we feeding on, right? How are we nourishing the mind, body, and soul? And that's very up. But as it switches and comes out of that, right? So we're done with that process. As it hits Leo, the creative babies might start popping and being a little more obvious, let's say. Gemini, there's a huge party in Gemini because that day it was the moon too, which is only there for 2.5 days. So that's probably moved on. But Uranus and moon were together, and Mars and Sirius were together in Gemini, all in the 10th house, which is out in public, your reputation, what you're known for, but how we shine our light, things like that. But there's so much change in that right now. There's all that Gemini change means we're going to activate some alternatives, let's say, and explore some options before we fully commit. But this is a once in 2 year process with Mars, once in 4 to 5 years with Sirius. How do you nurture and take care of your mind and mental health? What's going on with that? Because of the technology age that we're now obviously moving into, we can't deny that. So now we have to just get those extra protocols around ourselves to allow our bodies and our minds to process at the pace and speed that's natural for a human and not a computer. We are not computers. We are not robots. We're not supposed to process that much information that quickly. We're supposed to take some time and chew on it for a while and let it run through the filters. And is this really true? Is this really real? Do I really believe this? So welcome, baby. Shalafyani. So the Gemini is ongoing with Uranus there for 7 years, y'all, zapping us every so often with extra surges of energy, information, creativity, liberation. There's so much goodness into waking up. But then there's an adjustment that has to be made once you've been woken up by Uranus, for sure. I would just say with Mars, who you are and what you want in that Gemini zone is, how are you looking at the various options and possibilities? What are the ideas and options? Because then it's going to spend 2 months in Cancer, August 11th, right around the corner. We'll start again checking in with ourselves. Can we sustain it? Are we feeding into ourselves and taking care of ourselves so that we can take action on those ideas once it hits Leo? So it's almost like we finish going through the ideas and filtering and processing with Gemini into what feels right in Cancer, what feeds you, what protects you, what are the good ideas, what are the sustainable ideas, and then into Leo where we can activate them, which is only 2 months away. And then we're in harvest and the end of the year and closing things out. And so just be mindful that, they're all trying to present possibilities. We may not want to latch on just yet to any one. Run them through your body filter. Does this feel right? Is this for me, right? Is this the right timing? Ask those questions at every step of the way, because like I said, some of this Gemini is ongoing. All the Aries juju, Saturn and Neptune, our dreams and our reality are all been reset, and it's kind of an ongoing process as well. Pallas and Vesta are the ladies, and I'm gonna touch on those when we get to the planets, but this is our unique wisdom, and or let's say your unique genius, your healing capacity is Pallas, and Vesta's what's sacred to you, the individual. So in Aries, this is a huge reset that only happens every 4 to 5 years. And I want to add that these ladies are both retrograding there. So they're extending their process for almost a full year of a reset in Aries of what's right for me, what have I healed, what have I made whole, what am I ready to share with others, what has been initiated anew in a clean, kind of completely new beginning kind of way, and how have you realized that with family, friends, community, here are the people we care about and actually want to talk to and want to be part of. And then the world is pulling at you, trying to get your attention with different things. How do we maintain good boundaries, energetic boundaries, that energetic hygiene? We need to be on top of that now, because this is not going to stop or slow down. It's going to keep going. So you have to find your own rhythm and pace with it that works for you. And the reset in Aries is allowing us all to do that. We have permission for this clean slate to completely start anew. And in the 8th house, this is resources as well, shared resources, what you can manifest for yourself and how you work with others to expand, wealth and abundance and beauty and that kind of thing, but also connecting to your own power, which is we're going to go deep with on the Venus and Scorpio cycle. But this is powerful to have the ladies there, Saturn and Neptune there in this house of power and resources. So just know, and creativity, again, with the creativity, but it comes through you, Aries, you, the individual, right? That's what we're looking at in this context. So for this portal, you're being activated to create the new story, to create the new creative ideas and creative babies and whatnot, to manifest that new path for yourself that is defined and chosen by yourself, that is not imposed on you in any way from the outside. The healing work with Chiron is shifting from Aries. So we have done so much healing on the individual self that now that you hopefully feel some sense of wholeness and integration from some of the hard Chiron lessons, or you have to do it for yourself, and you have to have that wisdom coming from within you. I always say you do have to do it for yourself, but not by yourself. That's what community is for, is to support you while you're in your processes. So now that we've kind of anchored the new identity in a certain kind of way, or the knowing of the self, or the integration of the self, now Taurus brings up all the value. What are your emotional security things? Yes, I meant that, but your creature comforts and personal security. That's the Taurus zone, and we all have these levels of healing and integration that needs to happen around that. There's going to be extra energy for that, let's just say, for the next several years from Chiron, but it's right on the cusp. So it's dancing back and forth and showing you the individual, and showing you, reflecting back your values based on whatever's going on around you. So we want to look at that and be mindful of what comes up. The life path, the North Node has shifted into Aquarius. Then this chart that falls across the 6th and 12th house. So 6th house is our daily rhythms and routines and our health and well-being. And in this case, with Aquarius in there, and the new directive and the new directions are around your freedom and sovereignty and liberation, and your connection to the community, but your individual contribution to it within the context of your relationships and communities and things like that. So there is a rebirth going on at this portal that you might also get a glimpse of what that might look like and how the new rhythms might be falling into place. And I would say with that Aquarius, new directive, we've got Pluto there, and Juno, who's also been lingering on the Capricorn Aquarius zone right now, retrograde in Aquarius, is all resetting things there as well. And Juno's how we do commitment and intimacy in particular. So we have been dancing on the Capricorn Aquarius edge with that for over a year. And it's been this back and forth between how to remain sovereign and then still stay committed and connected and things like that. So we're looking for the wisdom of the next level for being more future oriented versus past oriented. We can take all the past things that we've been through and the stories that our people have been through and start to cultivate that new narrative in a whole new way. And in this chart, Venus is at 0 Libra. So she had just arrived August 6th, I believe, to Libra, and August 7th, she's still right there kicking off the new process. So it's not quite there yet, but it's on its way. All right, so energetic support. This is for August 8th through September 22nd. This is when we look at what the planets are individually doing over the next 6 weeks to support whatever we're doing. Okay, so hopefully you're in your pre-harvest. Hopefully you're putting those special touches on your creative babies or your ideas and the things that you're birthing at this year for 2026. The lunar energy is huge because we have eclipses, y'all. And the eclipses are in 2026 is what I call an overlap year. So we have the end of the Virgo Pisces eclipses, but we're also having the beginning of the Leo Aquarius eclipses. So we have to do both. There's change happening across many houses in your chart all at one time. So with the lunar energy, it's always about our personal rhythms, how we're feeling, our day-to-day moods and things like that. That's what we follow the moon for. But when eclipses are kicking, they're actually activating the bigger, 9 and 18, 10 and 20 year cycles that we can start to see the patterns of when we look at previous years. And we're going to go much deeper into the Leo Aquarius eclipses and nodes on August 20th this month in the Power Circle community event. So make sure that you all register for that as well, because I'm just going to touch on it a little bit here. With eclipses, we are breaking patterns. And so that's another big part of the rebirth going on after going through a lot of what we've gone through for the last year or two. We're coming to the other side of that where we need to break the realign, to do things in a new way. And wherever your Leo Aquarius falls in your houses, if you're what I call areas of life being affected. For me, I'll use me as an example as 3rd and 9th, which is my thinking and consciousness or ideas and my teachings, my writing and publishing, things like that. And I've noticed a pattern, and y'all know I'm a tracker. So I almost always crank out unbelievable amounts of blog posts and articles and things during the Leo Aquarius eclipses. It's crazy. Now, I want to channel that a different way this time. We're 10 years later. We did this in 2018-19 going into COVID. And before that, 08 to 09, these eclipses would wake things up in the same areas of life to have some change, to interrupt the patterns so that you reset something, whether you wanted to or not, or whether you thought you were ready. The universe thinks you're ready. So here we go. And with Leo Aquarius, we're still back to that individual within the context of the community. This is where the changes might also come up. The lessons that get activated for Leo Aquarius have to do with attachment and detachment. So we look at what changes during those years to find the patterns. And then to the degree that you're able to do that, now you can co-create and choose. So now that I know my writing and publishing goes through the roof, well, I'm going to channel that a different way. And we might be doing different things. Like I said, I care about the energy, and I'm always going to talk about the energetic support, but we might do more ritual in the future, y'all. We might have a little ceremony for us to be able to do it together, even if we are on Zoom, right? So these eclipses are huge, and they're also just kicking off. So we have 2 years all the way to 28. We have Leo Aquarius eclipses to deal with. So just be mindful of where, again, with you shining your light in the world, as well as your unique genius and your unique piece. So a lot of times I will use an example of astrology. There's a million astrologers out there. What makes me unique and different is my perspective on cycles and patterns, pretty much. But it took me time to find that, to figure that out, and to be able to present it accordingly as well. And so there might be a million astrologers out there, but they're not going to ever do what Kelly does, right? So you learn that you have your own unique piece that you bring to the table. That's what we're looking to birth, a rebirth, and strengthen, fortify, however you want to look at that. With Pluto there digging up, we're accessing power and wealth and resources in that Aquarius zone where this new path is kicking off. You can make those connections if you're willing to do the changes, if you're willing to be pure and clean about it, right? Pluto only messes us up when it gets toxic. As long as things are purified back to their, or distilled back to their essence, Pluto's all with it. That's all we want. And that's where the pure power is. So we have this support from the energies in the sky for sure, but we're also looking at the patterns of creation, attachment and detachment, like relationships, things that, because Leo's always about love in some kind of capacity, right? So our love life could come up, our friendships and our circles. That's where some of these changes might be coming up with these eclipses. Now, mind you, The Leo new moon solar eclipse is August 12th. And with any moon, new moon, full moon, we practice things 3 days before, the day of, and 3 days after. So we're right in the zone for the new moon solar eclipse right now as we speak, to start preparing our intentions or what we want to seed in our Leo department. And again, how to shine your light, how to be comfortable in your own skin, things like that is part of that eclipse. Now, the flip side, August 27th, we have the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. And out of those 7, 6 of them were full moon lunar eclipses, which means we had a lot more endings and closure over the last year and a half than new beginnings, let's say. But they still break to realign. That's what eclipses do. Pisces, Virgo, it has to do with our body and spirit, our spirit and human form, how we work that duality, our physical, literal boundaries, what's real and practical on the Virgo side, and then the dreamy, spiritual, ephemeral zone of Pisces, where we connect to God and spirit and all that is. That's huge. That's all that is, right? So we had to reset our bodies, I think. The way I've been tracking it with me and the community and things is that we've had to reset our body to handle these frequencies going on around us right now. There's so much electricity in the air, and we're electromagnetic beings, and we're having to recalibrate our systems so that we can function here, right? Otherwise, we might blow our circuits and leave the planet, or we might just slow down and quit, right? And just give up on everything. So we don't want to do that either. It's important for you to know your own body and your own mind and mental capacity for like how much processing can you do in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year. And then holding yourself to that and being responsible for that. So with the Pisces Virgo shifts, we've had a lot of boundary issues come up with, things that used to be okay are just not okay in certain personal relationships and things like that. We've realized our dreams are different. I don't know about y'all. We've talked about this in the circle a couple of times, how you want something for so long and you go after it for so long, and maybe it takes you 10 or 20 years to get it. By the time you get it, you really don't even want it anymore. You wanted it 10 years ago, at least for me. But I know that I need a new dream. Let's put it that way. And that's what I think these eclipses in the last year or two have shown us, that not only are we done as individuals with certain patterns, which is what happens at the end of the zodiac with Pisces, but the social collective went through it, right? Saturn and Neptune spent their years in Pisces preceding this and helping us get that closure, because humans aren't good at closure, y'all. I don't know what it is with us, but we can't let go. So they gave us lots of time to get used to it. Now all this fire is here where we have to birth something new. So the changes happen back to back. And if you want to think back to 1819, when we had the Leo Aquarius eclipses, that means preceding that, 17, 18, was probably the Virgo Pisces eclipses. So we go through these waves of change. And if those are strong energies in your chart, then it's super personal. So you shift how much your system can actually handle before you go out to try to shine your light. Let's put it that way too. So these eclipses that have shifted our body and boundary issues and how much our systems can handle was in preparation for Leo Aquarius, where we might shine our light a little more. Our communities might shift and change, or the way that we interact with other people is evolving, let's say, especially with technology in the mix for Leo Aquarius. That's always going to be part of it, right? So this is the eclipse season. We in it. And it's usually 6 months of chaos, and you don't really know what's what until you get to the other side of it. So that's why I was saying 6 months ago, during Aquarius Pisces time, we had these eclipses then too. So what has changed in the last 6 months to a year? What has changed for you over the last 9 or 10 years, and 18 and 20? Think about those so that you can co-create, or at least get your boat in, to at least acknowledge that this is my intention, spirit, please, allow this, facilitate this, open the way for this, or something greater, or something better. Let's keep that in mind. And it's all leading to the Virgo new moon on September 10th, when you will initiate that new system. And what I love about Virgo is it is one of the other places of purity, where you are back to that virgin whole unto yourself. This is really personal, you, the individual, and your system and how you function in your day-to-day life. That's what Virgo is all about, right? So we're going through this evolution of change with the eclipses and the renewal or the birth of a completely new persona, identity, presentation to the world, however you want to look at that. It's coming out of the identity and purpose work we've been doing for the last 2 years. So let's be mindful of that. Mercury totally done with its retrograde, going to be beautiful for our season. We have 6 weeks of peace and love. Mercury hits Leo on the 9th, which is today, Virgo on August 25th, Libra on September 10th, and we'll get together again for fall equinox around the 22nd. So Mercury doesn't hit Scorpio until September 30th, so right into our fall equinox season. What I want to point out about that is once it hits Scorpio, it's going to retrograde again. And what I want to also say coming out of the Cancer retrograde is how the Pisces retrograde early in the year with Mercury, lots of processing, lots of emotions, all kinds of things, evolution on all levels. But there were also lots of activations where Mercury tagged a bunch of other planets during the Pisces one, and it will again on the Scorpio one, but it didn't do anything on the Cancer one up in the sky. It might have hit your chart like it did mine, but up in the sky, it was chilling. It was not as intense for the Cancer one as it will be for the Scorpio one. So let's enjoy our quarter of peace and love, but also recognize the evolution of Mercury. And so your ideas, your thinking, your processing in Leo is going to be very creative and fun. Hopefully find some joy, get a little summer vacation before kids go back to school or whatever world you're in, and enjoy some of that deep breath after a retrograde, right? But now again, hindsight might be more 2020. You'll see what actually changed in your thinking in your Cancer department. And then as it goes through Virgo, we really up our processing game because again, the ideas are getting to be so much and so big and beautiful in Leo. Virgo's gonna be like, okay, now how do we work that? How do we make that functional? How do we, work it into the rhythm in the system? At the same time, you want to be mindful of your boundaries because you're processing in that moment, right? As it gets to Libra, we will probably engage, hopefully. By that time, a lot of your own ideas will be solid. So collaborating with others might get easier and different ways that you might add some beauty and power to your creative babies. But the last thing I want to say about it once it hits Scorpio is that it's going to retrograde at the same time Venus is retrograde in Scorpio. So they're sort of together for this one. And they've done this before. They sync up a lot because their speeds are similar. But this is going to be powerful because we're going to be changing our mind and changing our values in our Scorpio zone for the fall and winter season. So let's keep that in mind and enjoy the summer while we can. Play with Mercury, have some fun. Venus, like I said, has already hit Libra. So the pre-zone is opening up soon. August 6th, Libra, September 10th. Now you heard that September 10th 3 times, right, y'all? There's going to be a big energetic day. Venus will hit Scorpio, preparing to retrograde October 3rd at 8 Scorpio. On October 25th, it'll re-enter Libra, still retrograde though, and won't go direct until November 13th at 22 Libra. On the December 4th, it hits Scorpio for the final time, but it doesn't hit Sag until January 7th. So basically, Venus is in its zone, preparing for its retrograde and a renewal of an 18-month cycle, which we're also going to talk about on September 10th. That's the open house for the new Venus cycle gathering, where I'll talk about the whole cycle. But in general, we're resetting an 18-month and 8-year cycles. I always say the 18-month cycle is personal, where our values and priorities shift every 18 months in very personal, private ways in our day-to-day existence, because Venus helps us with a lot of that. But every 8 years, if you stay in a job, in a house, in a community, in a relationship for 8 years, it's time to renegotiate, because the values and the priorities that came in 8 years ago have pretty much run their course and evolved on some level. So we want to be mindful of working with Venus as our love and money. So we watch these cycles for our relationships and resources and how that renewal comes up periodically. This is a big one. And the last time we went through the Venus reset in Scorpio was 2018, again, pre-COVID. So a lot of us have come through a full cycle there, and it's time to look at life on the other side. Let's just say, we all got reset some kind of way in that, whether you were directly affected or not. So let's think about Venus as a shift in our values that has evolved naturally. Like I always say, I don't want to make anyone good, bad, right, or wrong. I just want to do it another way. We can do this another way. And to know that it's okay to shift. And then when we're looking at the Libra Scorpio cusp of where the reset's happening, especially with Venus, now we're looking at our partnerships and collaborations for sure, but the intimate ones are on deck as well. Any Venus retrograde, I joke that old lovers can pop up, old friends circle back, people from the past come back. But the Libra Scorpio one, it's got to be the most. Where it happens the most. It's kind of guaranteed. So y'all can report back and let me know how it manifests in your world, but that's what happens in mine. So be mindful, because partnerships and relationship karma is up, and we want to renew that and purify that and distill things back to how we would like to move forward. With Libra, it's conscious equal partnership. With Scorpio, it's being centered and anchored in your power and having your needs met and things like that. So we know that that reset's going to be pretty important. So whether you get with us or not, or you choose to do the Venus reading and custom guide, which is also getting new, I'm very excited about the new book, because we're going to do I always pick different things as our guides, y'all. And the story and archetype theme kind of thing is still in there, but we're also going to do, I think it might be the way that we do the Scorpio one from now on, is the shaman and the scholar, which you all know I'm pretty into. I love the embodiment shamanic side of things, where we connect earth and sky and our rhythms and nature and all that good stuff. But I also know that the astrology and the cosmology and the intelligence that we will be opening to during this cycle is going to be pretty special. So stay tuned for more on that. And then Mars, all Cancer, Leo for our season. So like I said, when Mars gets back to Cancer every 2 years, we really go deep on that self-care piece and how are we taking care of our bodies and how are we making our choices? Are they emotionally based? Are we being more practical about it? Are we too strong of boundaries, right? Where we're blocking our flow, blocking our good, blocking people that might be there for us if we would allow that. But, Cancer likes to be hard on the outside and soft on the inside. So that's what ends up happening, is we can sometimes block our good. We don't want to do that. And with Mars, it's your energy and your choices and where you place your energy, how you direct it on your own behalf. So the one big piece of that is being very instinctive about it, being very connected to your emotions and how you're feeling. Like, does that feel right for me? Mars is all about you, the individual. So does that feel right for you? In every moment, we're just going to have to ask. And then you're going to have to know if you are a little tender, or if, like me, and I think, Kimberly, am I mistaken? We have Mars returns in Cancer. So that's a big deal when you reset your own Mars energy and how to navigate with those emotions and feelings and things that you're picking up. Because a lot of times with the empath energy, it's not even you or yours, right? So that's the other reason we work on the boundaries and make sure that we're feeling right before we put ourselves out there, or that we're, strong and the boundaries are good and the energies are right for us to go interact with other people. So Mars is going to be probably a little cranky because it wants to do what it wants to do. And sometimes, I don't know about y'all, I am a Cancer. So sometimes I feel like I want to do it, but I don't have the energy, or I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or whatever's up that, blocks your action Mars piece. But once it hits Leo, again, like I said, I think those creative arrows are going to be let go. Right? We're going to work on them. We're going to nurture and develop them. Also a good thing to do during Cancer energies. And then shine them, share them, open up the light to them when Mars hits Leo. But it's also going to make you want to be more active. So I would say also think about working on your nutrition for a couple of months during the Cancer months, and then the body, physical fitness, working out, maybe getting fired up in that way once it hits Leo. Because that's another thing that I'm pulling in to just remind you all, the body work that's important around these parts of ourselves. And the big boys, like I said, the social collectives, they're all in air and fire. I mean, Chiron's in Taurus, which is earth, but the rest of them are all air and fire. So we are being expanded and transformed, and things are moving around in the social collective that, like I said, can help and support us in personal ways. But the way that we usually try to look at it now, that's kind of our energetic support where everybody is. The alignments and activations, like I said, were super special in July. So if you missed any of the July forecasts, definitely go back and review, because they're also happening 3, 5. One of the ones with Pluto's happening 13 damn times over the next several years. So they're all engaged for years to come. So that's one reason to know. But I also like to look at, especially Venus, because it's going to linger in Libra, Scorpio. And during our season here, it's going to interact with those social collective planets. Again, with some ease and grace, some opportunities, but also some integration. So some balance and integration where we don't want to be swinging to extremes, right? Let's be mindful in the moment of what's being presented. And so early August, it looks like Pluto transformation, Neptune, new dreams or connection to your spirit team, listening to your spirit team a little more intently, let's say, being very clear about what the ancestors are trying to tell you or how they're trying to direct you. Because a lot of these, it's going to hit Jupiter and Leo for sure 3 times over. So these are the two benefactors, y'all. And that's actually pretty juicy because, again, as you're shifting in your values and what's important to you in your relationships and resources, Jupiter's expanding things in the Leo zone and asking you to tell this new story. So it's going to open up ways to do that. But we probably have to adjust and, go back and forth a little bit with the retrograde in terms of resetting things, how we channel our power, how we channel our creativity. That's what's going to come up with the Venus reset. So as we do that, obviously how we interact and how things happen in the social collective is going to shift as well. When she's in Scorpio, it's not going to be quite as intense, but there's not the ease either, because once she's in Scorpio, she's really squaring off with Pluto 3 times over. So we are going to be changed by 1st of 2027. Let's just put it that way. As soon as we hit the new year, it is a new energy and there's really no going back. We've danced on the cusp for years now. We're finally on the other side on so many things, so many things. So Venus, your feminine, how you receive and contain, nurture, protect is getting an upgrade. Let's just be mindful that some of the things that we're doing are not in their final stages. Let's say that. And then anytime a Venus is retrograde, we're not supposed to do big purchases or big beauty treatments or weird things that we don't always do. So be mindful that that's kind of warming up right now. And then Mars in Cancer will be squaring off with the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, which means, again, these changes that are going on inside of you. Now we have to learn how to speak our truth in a new way, stand on our power, stand up to certain things in certain ways. That doesn't feel right to me. Can we talk about it? Again, we try not to make the other person right, good, bad, right, or wrong, but this don't feel right to me, and we need to discuss so we can both be on the same page. That kind of friction might be happening with Mars and Cancer like that. But once it hits Leo, it joins the fire party. So then it's just energy that you want to be strong internally before you try to channel that, right? Jupiter in Leo, the big one is the fact that it's trining Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and will actually link up with, Sun and Mercury hit Leo every year, annually, right? But Jupiter's only there 1 year out of 12. So it's also going to link up with Sun and Mercury in Leo. So that's an initiation of, again, new creativity, new self-expression, new ideas and fun, hopefully joy, passion, and vitality too. But the big thing is Jupiter, your consciousness, in this ease and grace to your purpose and your dreams. And this is what I mean by we have this opportunity for so much ease, and where it's not usually like that, y'all. That's all I can say. Where it's not usually offering us these trines and sextiles. We're usually getting the squares and opposition. So let's take advantage of the expansion going on the Leo side. So the Leo fire, again, it's very creative, self-expression, but also connected to the heart. Does it, again, does it feel right? Does it have meaning for you? Are you passionate about it? Because if you don't care, you're not going to invest any energy, time, energy, resources, nothing, right? So we got to care. And what's the new story of how you shine your light? And how is that easily, with ease and grace, just allowing your new identity to pop naturally, organically, like you're just walking a new path, y'all. We've all set foot on some kind of new path in some kind of way. And Jupiter is really there to help us weave this, let's say, joy and possibility in a world of chaos and destruction. I'm not negating what's going on out there, but for us, we do have this access to some positive, joyful, uplifting, seen in a new light, innocent child heart, holding on to that positive vision as best you can. Because when Jupiter's in Leo, it's like the ultimate positive. Anything's possible if we care, if we stay in our hearts, if we stay centered in joy, right? Then anything is possible. And the last thing for alignments and activations, I think and I sort of touched on this earlier, is that all the asteroid ladies are retrograding this year. Now, they all retrograde periodically. Very rarely does it all line up in the same year. Like I said, Pallas and Vesta both retrograding in Aries. So they're all the way till the spring of 2027. So we're in this process of reset. And Ceres, how we nurture and like to be nurtured, we're done its retrograde all through Cancer. So we really went the deepest we can go in a 5-year period to what really feeds and nourishes and protects us. And especially after the 8, 9, 10 years we've been through, let's say, right? So let's look at how we nurture and nourish ourselves in a new way, knowing that by next spring and summer, it's all new, and that's for sure. And then the last Juno, how we do commitment and partnership, dancing on that Capricorn Aquarius cusp. So, we want to be committed, but not in ways that choke us out or hold us back or hold us down in any way. You want to feel sovereign and free, even within the circles and communities that you play in.